Okay. Giving you a better look here. So this is northwest of Flint. Yes, this tornado warning does currently center into the Flint area, but right now our threat is northwest of Flint, moving across portions of eventually the northern side of Genesee County. Let's showcase that again here. So this runs until 2 p.m. at this point. Not really seeing the hail with these storms. Winds we're only really seeing when we start to get a little bit of the rotation. We're not seeing any kind of widespread winds. We're not even seeing lightning and thunder with these storms at this point. So I'm going to take it over back to the Doppler radar. And we'll zoom on in here around Beecher, Mount Morris, along the 475 corridor, North Saginaw Street, North Clio Road, Mount Morris Road. This is where you need to watch. Be in your tornado safe place, lowest level of your home, preferably a basement, interior, away from doors and windows. If you do not have a basement, under the stairs, in an interior bathroom, any interior room on the lowest level, but preferably underground. Mobile homes are not safe, so take your tornado precaution plans. If you have a tornado shelter, that is the smart way to certainly go. We're seeing this notch on the back side. That's causing this area of spin here on this storm. So we're seeing a little bit of area of rotation here as this slides off towards the north and east. Going into our CC product. What is that? Well, that's called correlation coefficient, or how similar something correlates to another. And this is a very, very messy look. I can't really honestly see if it's all getting the right proper amount of data, or maybe there is a little bit of potential for hail aloft, or potentially maybe there is a little bit of debris getting wrapped around. But typically you see more of a uniform look when everything correlates similar together. So raindrops are similar to other raindrops, right? Hail is going to be similar to hail, but it's not going to be similar to rain. So the radar is going to say that it's not correlating well, and it's going to showcase some different colors here. Debris, when being tossed around in a tornado, also is not going to correlate super well. And this does not look like a traditional debris signature. This looks like bad data. So I'm going to come back to that later. But this is probably one of the main things that we're going to be watching as we track this potential storm that has the history of a little bit of tighter, lower level rotation. And that's certainly what we're seeing right now. This is tighter rotation. It doesn't look strong right now, but this can certainly create an environment for isolated, weak, brief spin-ups. Hopefully nothing stronger, but we have the atmospheric environment that's in place for what we're seeing aloft in the atmosphere to kind of carry down to the ground. And again, when we talk about a couplet, we're talking about an area of red and green pretty much next to each other. And what do we have here? Unfortunately, red and green next to each other. So that is a couplet, and while it's not the strongest, that is fairly tight. What we're seeing is winds moving away from the radar and winds moving towards the radar. So if this is mainly the Detroit radar here, and we're in Genesee County, we're seeing kind of this movement here and this movement here, and as that comes together, that obviously creates the area of rotation. So cover 475, especially east of the I-75 corridor, North Clio Road, along M54, Mount Morris, North Wilson Road, West Lewis Road, up towards eastern Mount Morris Road. That is the area that you definitely need to be in your tornado safe place. I'm going to project this out a little bit over the next like 11 miles or so. So Pine Run, let me show that a little bit better. If this continues on a similar trajectory, this is kind of what we're looking at, the Vienna area, Arbella area. This is going to slide into probably either extreme southeastern Saginaw County, or we're going to slide it a little bit more towards Vassar, Millington, maybe towards like Otter Lake, Mayville. We'll keep an eye on that. But this definitely is cruising on into the northeastern portions of Genesee County, and this is going to have the threat to move into southeastern Saginaw or southwestern Tuscola County as we see it right now. And these storms, again, are doing what we call cycling. So they kind of weaken, they tighten, they weaken, then it forms in a totally different area of that shower, and then it weakens again, and so forth and so on. Now, we are not under any big severe weather risk. We're not under any severe weather risk from the Storm Prediction Center at this point. That's why staying weather aware is so important, because we have a stationary front and plenty of instability and enough of a wind shift in the atmosphere with these showers that are rotating around. While they're not strong enough to create major damaging wind or hail or a bunch of lightning and thunder, they're certainly strong enough to have enough spin to create the potential for tornadoes. So this is the only tornado warning that's currently out across our area. Again, while this covers Flint area, technically it is a little bit to the northwest of Flint. At this point, sliding into northeastern areas of Genesee County. Let's give you a little bit more of a wide open scope with this. You can see that rotation kind of spinning around in the atmosphere as we loop this over the course of the last 4 hours, where you have the movement that's kind of wrapping back across the vicinity. And it's just got that overall counterclockwise loop. You got more showers forming back to the west. We could have some thunderstorms that do indeed develop at times. And one of the big reasons for why we're kind of seeing this overall setup is because of that stationary boundary that's sitting across the area. So that creates an area of localized spin, and they love to follow this boundary. And then as you have different showers, they each have their own little wind field and they interact with each other. And when you hit them just right, it creates the areas of rotation. So this is where we have the environment that's conducive for potentially strong to severe thunderstorms here today. So this is what we're currently tracking. It looks a little disorganized. You got a couple little showers that are trying to compete for energy, and that's kind of stealing away the rotation a little bit, and then it's kind of giving it back. So the good news is, to the northwest of Flint, around Beecher and Mount Morris right now, we're starting to see a little bit less of a conducive signature, but it's still some broader rotation. Taking a look at any kind of potential debris tracking here. Again, it's just very messy, this product. I'm really not able to make much of an astute sense. It's just kind of wrongfully sampling and labeling things a little bit off. I got a couple other radars that I'm looking at off to the side, and I'm also really not noticing anything that's a significant look right now, which is great. That is what we like to see. Doesn't mean it's not going to spin up again here in just a little bit, but for right now, it does look more disorganized. And I'm sure it's going to continue to cycle, and we're still going to see a period a little bit better. But right now you're kind of seeing a little bit more of that separation with the red and green, just slightly. But I'm sure we're going to have to keep a very close eye on this. Again, as this cruises through portions of northern Genesee into far northeastern portions of the county. The Clio area, potentially Mount Morris, potentially more towards like Otisville, Otter Lake, and then maybe more into like the Millington area. Hopefully going to stay a little bit away from Birch Run, Burt, Bridgeport, Frankenmuth. We'll keep a close eye on this continued track in the next little bit.
And Brian, this is Chief Meteorologist Eric Streva, just kind of getting settled, and I'm going to take over from here on Storm Ready Velocity. We are, again, taking an eye and keeping an eye on things in Genesee County with that lone severe thunderstorm, which is capable of producing a tornado right now. Now, this is a tornado warning that we've been watching for the last several minutes. We have that area of rotation very weak, but still enough to lead to that tornado warning being issued here in portions of Genesee County. This is right around the Mount Morris area, North Clio Road towards Saginaw Street into West Mount Morris Road, East Stanley Road, East Coldwater Road. These areas are where we have that rotation right now on radar that we are going to continue to monitor here, as that tornado warning has been in effect for several minutes. We'll give you the latest on that tornado warning right now. This is until 2 o'clock local time. Really outside of that rotation, not seeing anything major besides very heavy rainfall. We can hear it on our rooftops here at the studio. Very heavy rain that's coming out of these storms. These other cells that are up here where we did have tornado warnings earlier, they have since weakened, which is very good news. It's just that one lone cell right now that is tornado warned here until 2 o'clock local time. So we're going to continue to monitor this storm here until 2 o'clock, and we will keep you updated, keep you ahead of the storm, and keep you safe as it is moving off to the northeast here at about 20 miles per hour. Now, we did have that issued near the Flushing area, so it has since moved away from Flushing and is now near Mount Morris, just to the north of Beecher. So there's that rotation. We have the greens that are going towards the radar, which is to our south, and we have the reds going away from the radar. So we do have that area of rotation pretty much right on top of Mount Morris right now, and you may even hear the heavier downpours that are happening here at our studio, as we are just a few streets and a few communities south of this storm. So we are kind of in the thick of it right now. We heard the tornado sirens outside of our studio. We had the alert that was sent to our phones, just like all of you that are under this tornado warning as well. But we're going to keep you safe. We're going to keep you ahead of the storm, and we're going to keep you up to date on where it is moving right now. As we mentioned, moving to the northeast at about 20 miles per hour, North Clio Road towards North Saginaw Road, Lewis Road, eventually going to be jumping towards Thetford and just to the south of Vienna. So if you're in Vienna, Mount Morris, Thetford, you should already be in your tornado precautions, that lowest interior room, preferably a basement. But if you don't have a basement, make sure you're putting as many walls in between you and the outdoor as possible. Thetford, including M57 towards Forest, and potentially up here towards, I know you're not in the tornado warning just yet, but if you live near Otter Lake, if you live near Arbella, Millington, you should be keeping an eye on this storm as well, as it is moving towards you and moving your direction. So we are going to keep you informed and up to date if there is any update to this tornado warning as we move forward in time. Vienna, Genesee, Thetford, Forest, M15, M57, M54, you should all be in your tornado precautions. That is the lowest interior room of whatever sturdy building you are in. We always say a basement. Basement is going to keep you as safe as possible. But if you don't have a basement, it's that lowest interior room, putting as many walls in between you and the outside as possible. And of course, bringing something to cover your head, keep yourself protected if there is any flying debris. That could be a baseball helmet, a bike helmet, a large textbook, you know, maybe even a very large pillow if you can. Just something that may keep yourself safe if there is any flying debris that is happening with this storm. For right now, I'm going to actually go over to our correlation coefficient, and this gives us a look. You can see at the top of the screen, if we start to see the whites, blues, grays, that gives us an idea that maybe there is some debris that's being lofted by this storm. So I'm going to go over the last couple of scans, see if there was potentially anything that we could pick out over the last couple of scans. As of right now, not really seeing anything that really stands out. There's a lot of different clutter, a lot of different colors, but when we are talking about tracking the debris on this, in particular, this correlation coefficient or the debris tracking, usually we need to see a very distinct blob of those colors that are in the yellows, in the greens, in the whites, in the blues, in the grays, and that would give us a very noticeable look at, of course, maybe some of that flying debris that could be happening there. Still have that rotation, very broad, very weak rotation, but still rotation nonetheless, which is why we have that tornado warning. This storm is pretty much directly overhead of Mount Morris. It's going to be moving towards Thetford and just to the south of Vienna. So if you live south of Vienna near West Wilson Road, North Saginaw Road, North Lewis Road, as well as North Genesee Road, M57 up towards Thetford and Thetford Township, you should be getting into your tornado precautions, as well as Rogersville. Anyone around Rogersville, North Irish Road, North Genesee Road, east to Mount Morris Road, as well as North Belsey Road, M57, North Bray Road. Make sure you are getting into those tornado precautions as well. We want to keep you guys safe and informed with these storms. We've had several tornado warnings so far today. This storm system kind of came out of the blue. We were mentioning that there was going to be some heavier downpours. Definitely some thunder and lightning. These storms really even don't have any thunder or lightning involved with them. So they're very weak supercells, but they have enough rotation that, gives us some concern, gives us some pause as of right now. This is the storm on radar. You can see that there's a distinct blob here that, maybe has a little bit of a hook. That is the reason why we have some of that velocity and some of those rotation markers on our velocity. But as of right now, and you can also see that we are not in a severe risk here today. We are only in a general thunderstorm risk. So the overall odds and the overall threat of tornadoes was very low to, as close to zero as you can get. But sometimes these storms, they have a mind of their own, and they can kind of go and overperform in some cases. Some of those ingredients can come together in a very small, compact area right here along I-75, which is kind of what we're seeing with these storms, and they can overperform. They can have, the ability to create some serious havoc and some serious concern here as well. So we're going to go back to the correlation coefficient. There might be something popping up right here, but that's a scan that we'll continue to monitor and watch for. As of right now, what we are seeing is maybe this starting to transition more to a wind threat. You can see a lot more of those reds, which is the winds that are coming away from the radar to our south, and very little green. So, that rotation could definitely be weakening as a result. But as of right now, it's still something that we're going to continue to watch here until the tornado warnings are allowed to expire. And of course, want to thank Brian Ivy for making sure that all of you are informed on these tornado warnings here so far today. He kept you guys alert and informed with all the warnings that were issued. And of course, any other warnings that we see today, we're crossing our fingers that after this tornado warning is done, it's pretty much nothing for the rest of today. But any other warnings that are issued here today, we will, of course, keep you updated. And I will be doing that for the rest of this time. So we've got that area of rotation that's now approaching Thetford. So make sure you are getting into your lowest interior room. Vienna, Thetford, Genesee, Forest, all of you should be getting into those tornado precautions right now. That's that lowest interior room, away from any windows, doors, and walls. So make sure you are being as safe as possible. So as of right now, starting to see a weakening trend in this rotation. There's a little bit, very weak winds that are going towards the radar to our south, and very strong winds that are coming north. So this may be transitioning to more of a wind threat. You know, we have been seeing some funnel clouds that have been reported, but not seeing any confirmation right now of anything that is necessarily on the ground doing damage. But they did just shave all of Flint, Flushing, all of these areas south of McGrew Junction, and definitely south of Beecher. You are no longer in this tornado warning. It's only the north and northeast portion of Genesee County, Vienna, Thetford, Genesee Forest included here as well. Still have this tornado warning until 2 o'clock local time here in Genesee County. I'll give you the latest on it. It is for that storm that's moving northeast at about 20 miles per hour. When they did just update this at 1:42, it was near Mount Morris and Clio. And this is radar indicated rotation. So we do have some of that rotation pretty much right here that's moving in towards Thetford, just to the north of Genesee. So it is going to be, and I'll put a track on this, over the next few minutes or so. We'll go over the next 25 minutes. So it's going to be into the Thetford area almost around 1:50. And we are continuing to hear the tornado sirens here at the station as well. So you may be hearing them as well, but it's just because we are continuing this tornado warning until 2 o'clock local time. We have that rotation still here right over Thetford. So, you know, we mentioned it a couple minutes ago. Thetford, you should already be in your tornado precautions. M57, North Genesee Road, North Lewis Road, Irish Road, towards North Belsay Road, North Bray Road, Irish Road, here M57, M15. You should be all getting into your tornado precautions immediately, just in case there is a tornado doing damage that is on the ground right now. So make sure you are getting things together, getting something that can cover your head, protect yourself, just in case. And there's that rotation right now. You know, we're starting to see maybe a weakening of these winds that are going towards the radar to our south, but definitely still some stronger winds coming out of the south going to the north. So, you know, there may still be some damage that's caused by just wind as a result of this storm, but, you know, the rotation is definitely weakening, which is a good sign. You know, we like that all of these storms are continuing to weaken. You know, we do have some cells up here to the north that, you know, we're monitoring as well, but nothing that's really standing out as of right now that could potentially lead to another tornado warning or severe thunderstorm warning that is issued. We're going to go back over to correlation coefficient, our debris tracker. and see if it's saying anything, see if it's showing anything over the last couple of scans. As of right now, not really much that we're seeing. So good news there. You know, Thetford, you're still really much under the gun of this lone, weak supercell. But sometimes that's all we need here in the state of Michigan, a weak cell that's able to run into a pocket of some rotation. You know, we have the heat and humidity out there fueling these showers. You know, there's not even any thunder or lightning that's happening with these cells. So you can see we have the lightning on, and there's not a single lightning strike. Nevertheless, some of these storms don't even need lightning to produce a tornado. You know, lightning is a good indicator of if the storm is strengthening or weakening, but when you don't have that indication necessarily, you know, sometimes it doesn't matter. You can still get a tornado to happen with those areas of rotation that we're clearly seeing on our radar right now, approaching M57 at this hour. So anybody in Thetford, anyone around Thetford in Thetford Township, you should be in your tornado precautions, that lowest interior room, making sure you're putting as many walls in between you and the outside as possible. And bring something to cover your head. So still have this tornado warning for the next 10 minutes. This storm, for the most part, from what I'm seeing, is weakening when it comes to the, you know, overall rotation. Very good news there. But we still could have some stronger winds that are coming out of this cell nevertheless. So, you know, that cell just passed over Thetford. It's now moving up towards North Lewis Road, North Bray Road, Belsey Road, Irish Road. So if you are living here in southern Tuscola County, just be aware of this storm. You know, it may be weakening as it moves towards you, but Arbella, Millington, M15, up towards Birch Run Road, Bray Road, Belsey Road, Irish Road, Vassar Road, Millington Road, anybody that's around there, including Sheridan Road, North Lake Road, and even out towards Otter Lake. Make sure you are very much aware of this storm. Kind of checking down here to see if there's any other cells that are developing. You know, we'll watch this one that's now just to the south of Mount Morris and Genesee, but as of right now, not seeing anything in particular that is of concern. But there's definitely some individual cells that are trying to develop and pop up. So still that lone tornado warning here in Genesee County until 2 o'clock local time. Really just heavy rain and the tornado threat. Maybe some gusty winds that are able to pop up and out of these storms, but, you know, as of right now, nothing else that we're really concerned with. You know, there's not even any lightning coming out of these storms right now. So very interesting setup nevertheless. Back over to our velocity, really just more so shifting to a wind threat. You know, we have some stronger winds that are coming steady out of the south. You know, the storm may be ingesting some of that heat and humidity that is definitely more pronounced to its south. So you may be seeing this storm trying to ingest some of that heat and humidity from the south. And that may be where some of these strong winds are coming from, but very weak stuff that's happening on the backside. So I'm not seeing much in the way of winds that are going back towards the radar, which would give us that indication of that rotation that's happening right now. So and again, there's nothing else that's happening on our radar system. I will watch this cell, but it is pretty far away from radar. As of right now, what we have is that lone cell right here, just in the north of Thetford. So North Lewis Road, North Bray Road, Belsay Road, Irish Road. We've been mentioning you guys. Hopefully you are all in your tornado precautions, that lowest interior room, away from any walls, out, you know, exterior doors, windows, anything like that. Because we do still have some very weak rotation, but it is weak. Very, very weak stuff, which is really good to see. What they're likely going to do is allow this tornado warning to expire on its own at 2 o'clock. And, you know, we'll see if anything else is issued. I would lean towards no, just because this overall radar presentation is not all that impressive right now. Still, nevertheless, we do have that tornado warning that is in effect here for extreme northern Genesee County now. Likely north of Thetford, that includes Forest, here towards Lake Road, Irish Road, Belsay Road, North Bray Road, North Lewis Road, North Genesee Road, M57, up M15. So for those of you in southern Tuscola County, Arbella, Millington, make sure you are paying attention, close attention to this storm, as we could absolutely be seeing, you know, we've seen these storms kind of go back and forth. So if it starts to pick up on some of that intensity, we may be seeing another tornado warning that could be issued. But as of right now, where we have the worst of this storm, very weak rotation that's going south towards the radar, very strong winds that are coming north away from the radar. We did just get a new scan here. Still very weak rotation. You know, we have some very weak winds that are going south here. A lot of this is red, which means a lot of these winds are coming outbound, coming in from the south. You know, you may be hearing the sirens once again in parts of Genesee County, unless you live up towards Vienna, Thetford, Forest, near M54, M57, M15. You're pretty much in the clear as of right now. So that includes Flint, that includes Flushing, that includes places like Davison, Clayton, down through Mundy, Grand Blanc, Lake Fenton. You guys are in the clear. You know, we may be seeing some rotation that's developing down here. So we're going to watch this near Mount Morris and Beecher. But it's really going to depend on if another warning is issued. If you are just joining us about the tornado warning and you're hearing the sirens, I just want to give an all clear to a few locations. Flushing, Clayton, down through Mundy, as well as Schwartz Creek, Burton, Belsay, Davison, Atlas, Grand Blanc, Lake Fenton, Duffield, Argentine, Linden, Fenton. You guys are all in the clear. These storms are well to your north. So you may be hearing the tornado sirens, but as of right now, there is no threat to you. You know, that doesn't mean that other storms couldn't develop, materialize. We couldn't see additional tornado warnings that are issued. But as of right now, the worst storm is actually right here on the Genesee and Tuscola County line. So very weak winds that are coming towards the radar, stronger winds that are coming out of the south. So this storm is still trying to ingest some of that heat and humidity that is definitely better off to its south and to its west. So that may be where we're getting a little bit of a bright red blob here on velocity, which is just some of those stronger winds that are coming in towards Birch Run Road, Belsay Road, Irish Road, towards M15. So if you're living in Arbella, Millington, we've been mentioning you guys, just make sure you're aware of this storm. I would say at 2 o'clock, this severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado will continue to weaken, and the tornado warning that has been issued will be allowed to expire. However, there is another storm right now that we are going to be closely monitoring. It's right here towards Beecher. We do have some winds that are showing an area of rotation right around Beecher. So if you live in Mount Morris, Beecher, I would say stay in your tornado precautions. You know, we do have another storm that may be starting to perk up a little bit. So we're going to watch this one too. You know, they may not issue a tornado warning just yet, but if that storm starts to show more rotation, you know, it is a possibility that an additional tornado warning is issued here in Genesee County. But for the first time in over 2 hours, we are tornado warning free. What I'm going to do, for those of you watching on NBC 25, Fox 66, we're going to let programming go back to normal. But if another tornado warning is issued, of course, we will break in again. We are going to stay live on Facebook and YouTube, still tracking a few of these storms because there are areas of rotation that I want to monitor. So if you still want to watch us, you can come over to our Facebook page, our YouTube channel. We will stay live here until things start to maybe peter out a little bit more. But for right now, I'm going to pause and we're going to let NBC 25, Fox 66 go back to regularly scheduled programming.
This has been a Mid-Michigan Now Storm Ready Weather Alert.
All right, everyone, we're still here live on Facebook and YouTube. As of right now, we don't have any tornado warnings. Thankfully, you know, we're definitely seeing that those areas of rotation weakening. Very interesting stuff happening today. You know, we mentioned the obvious that there was the potential of heavy rain, thunder, and lightning. We don't even have any lightning on our radar right now, but these cells overcame and overachieved some of the very weak ingredients for severe weather in our area. So, you know, stranger things have happened, but, you know, very thankful for Brian Ivy for jumping on. And we kept you informed and safe here over the last 2 hours, and we are tornado warning free currently. If you're still hearing tornado sirens, there is no concern, no alarm anymore. But what I'm going to still do is I still have a couple areas of rotation that I want to, you know, keep an eye on. I don't want to let this go just yet because these storms have been going back and forth pretty much the entire day. So, you know, I don't want to let this go just yet. I still want to stay live with you guys, and I'm going to actually pull up the live and see if there are any questions that you guys have. Lisa, for the YouTube channel, it's just NBC25. If you search Mid-Michigan Now, you'll be able to find that on Facebook. But as of right now, you're in the clear. Everyone is in the clear. So if you're hearing me, if you're trying to, kind of prepare things, that tornado warning expired at 2 o'clock. We no longer have any warnings on our map right now. And, we're going to hope that that continues for the rest of today. We're going to go back to velocity. And hopefully you guys can still hear me on Facebook and YouTube. But thankfully, if you're still hearing sirens, you can disregard those. If you're still getting warnings sent to your phone, you can disregard those. Warnings have expired. Warnings are no longer in place. These storms, even the one that's approaching Arbella and Millington, very weak cells. The one that I was watching here towards Beecher, Mount Morris, has weakened. So, everything is falling apart. There may still be some gusty winds that come out of these downpours, but currently we are in the clear for right now. No warnings that are still issued. Yeah, Melissa, we are right in Mount Morris, so we had just as many sirens as you guys in Flint. Luckily, as of right now, I haven't heard any damage that was caused by these storms in Genesee County in Flint. But we'll keep an eye on it. So, all is clear. No tornado warnings that are in effect. No severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect. You will still probably encounter some heavier downpours. Maybe a flash of lightning, but even then, we don't have any lightning on our radar systems right now. So, everything is in the clear. Very good news there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of show you why this happened. So, since we can kind of backtrack. So we had the heat and humidity, no surprise there. What may have allowed for things to perk up a little bit is we did have, I'm going to go over the last 4 hours or so, is out in West Michigan, there was this lone cell right here. And it was coming out of an area of very weak rotation. And once it hit our region, it may have hit an area that was better overall for heat and humidity, and also better winds, because the winds were probably coming out of the southwest here, and they're more out of the southeast to even east here. So when you kind of have that converging of the winds, you can get that spin in these storms. And that's really the only thing that we have to go off of because, as we mentioned, we just have a general thunderstorm risk here today. We were not monitoring for tornadoes. So I'm glad that they issued the warnings. I'm glad everyone took them seriously. But this was definitely one of those storms that you see every so often that kind of overperforms. But we're happy that we were able to get on. Brian Ivy, a huge thank you to him for keeping you guys informed and connected. And this is not the last of the severe weather that we will see, unfortunately. So we are still going to monitor storms here today. They should not get out of hand. I would say that most, if not all, of us for the rest of today will not see any additional warnings. Tomorrow there will be storms late. Thursday there will be storms late. Both of those have the potential of bringing some damage, bringing warnings, bringing watches, and, we're going to continue to monitor those as well. So currently, no tornado warnings. Currently, no cells necessarily that we're monitoring or concerned with. There are some cells that are trying to perk up a little bit near Denmark. There may be some gusty winds that are coming out of this storm. We did have what looks like a new tornado report in Tittabawassee near Freeland. So 30 to 40 homes with damage, and also campers that were overturned. So that's what was happening when we were kind of in the heart of these storms. Melissa, it's tough to say. We don't have any confirmation because damage can happen just from wind. These storms could have just become more of wind, but as of right now, no reported tornadoes or confirmed tornadoes. But I want to go over the last couple of hours. I just want to see the velocity that happened here. That's definitely some very strong winds. But the overall rotation was kind of weak. So we'll see. But as of right now, hey, Robin, if you want to message us that video, because we would love to see that, and I can get that over to the National Weather Service. If you could message that to our Facebook page here, would love to see that video. And if you put in the city that you took the video in, that would be helpful too. Yeah, everything's quiet, guys. Flint, McLaren Hospital, you guys are in the clear. Flint Township off of Bellinger Highway, you're in the clear. If you are hearing the sirens, there are no additional tornado warnings out there, so that might just be an all clear siren. But if you're hearing the sirens, we are still in the clear. As you can see, no active tornado warnings that are in place. Sometimes they put a tornado marker here, just so that's kind of like a storm report. But they will go back and see if it was actually a tornado that did touch down. There is some rotation here that I'm going to watch. Very weak stuff right here. It's probably moving at the same speed as the last storm, so I'm going to put a track on this. That was a little too fast. So we have some rotation right about here, just to the north of Denmark. And I'm going to move it over the next half an hour. So Guilford, Fairgrove, Akron, get inside, I would say. But there's no active warning. Just something that we're monitoring right now. Hannah, you do not need to go into the basement. There are no active warnings, so you are in the clear. Alexis and Clio, you are in the clear. Miller Road, Flint, Michigan, you are in the clear. Krista, will there be any more storms today? Yes, I could see additional storms developing, but I don't think they're going to get out of hand just like these ones. But, we'll be monitoring if they do. Theo, you are exactly right. We are in the clear. Yeah, everyone's in the clear. If you're listening to me, no active warnings. Everyone is in the clear. If you're hearing sirens, you can disregard those. Everyone is good to go. As you can see, no warnings. Bay City is in the clear. Columbiaville is in the clear. Davison, Otisville, you guys are in the clear as of right now. I'm still watching any of these cells, but for the most part right now, everybody is good to go. Melissa, definitely more storms are expected later on today. Do I expect that they're going to get out of hand like these ones? No, I don't. You know, this storm is kind of changing our winds to coming more out of the southwest, which will continue to heat us up, allow for the higher humidity, feeling very tropical out there. But I don't really expect these storms to get out of hand. I don't really have any inkling or indication that these storms are going to get out of hand for the rest of today. But, you know, stranger things have happened. We saw that over the last couple of hours. You know, we'll continue to watch these storms, but as of right now, I think everything is starting to wind down. So what I am going to do is I am going to turn our Facebook and YouTube Live off here momentarily. If you're hearing me right now, just know that we are in the clear. There are no active warnings, but of course, if any warnings do pop up once again, we will be right back on here live and also on your TV screens as well. So we appreciate you guys coming on here and staying connected, staying informed, staying safe with us. And we will, of course, as always, anytime a warning is issued, we will be right back on here on Facebook and YouTube.